what we're talking about is where we came up with all these identity things. What's the root of it? Where did it come from? So we remember, and it all came from the unit circle. Remember that the unit circle meant it was a unit. So from the center to the outside, that's your radius, and that was always 1. That was always 1. Then we remembered that our x coordinate was always cosine and your y coordinate was always sine. Okay? So, Willamette, are you with me? Oh, I'm sorry. This is where all your identities come from. This is where your trig stuff comes from. And we did this the first day, but now that y'all are doing this, it's going to let me know that next time I teach this, I'll go back and do it again. I'll go back and do it again since we can kind of see it, okay?
Are you also doing your Microsoft?
I am. Can you see my screen?
No, it's like doing this.
Okay. I'll take my screen off and I'll do it again. Okay, I'll share again. Okay. Well, I'm recording it too, so you can. Okay, so what I'm doing here, so Willamette, if you're with me, you remember that sine and cosine were the x and the y of your unit circle. Like if you had a point on the unit circle, the x was the cosine, the y was the sine. So if I wanted to come and make a right triangle out of that, I know that my cosine was my x coordinate and my sine was the y coordinate. So now I've got me a triangle, and I'm going to do it right here. Really? Seriously? That's what you call a triangle right there? That's sadness. Okay, so that's sadness. But I know that this is going to be cosine because it's my x, and this is sine. And this is, this was my x coordinate and y coordinate. And this is 1 because it's on a unit circle. So now I'm going to go to Pythagorean. Pythagorean identities. So I'm going to say a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1 squared. So that just turns out to be cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. That's where that Pythagorean identity came from. That's it. Okay? Then some of the things that we also learned back, I think we did it in Math 2, but I know we did it in Math 3. Tangent was always sine over cosine. Okay, and then we also learned that secant was the inverse of cosine, so it's 1 over cosine. And then cosecant, it's S, equals 1 over sine. Cosecant, that is a C right there. I said X though. Okay, and the way I memorize it, I don't know how y'all want to memorize it, but whatever. But what I do is, since they're inverses of each other, the S is opposite with the C. The S and the C are paired up. Then over here, the C and the S are still paired up. So whoever I go first with the S, then the cosine is there. If I start with the C with the cosecant, I start with the S over here for sine. That's how I do it. Okay, then also the inverse for tangent is cotangent. And so that just means we're flipping these. So that's cosine over sine. Okay? So these right here were your reciprocals. Well, kind of-ish. These were your reciprocals-ish. And then the cotangent and tangent, that was your quotient. then this is your Pythagorean. Now, with the Pythagorean, you're like, Mills, there's so many others on there. Yep, there sure is. And they can all come from cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. Okay, so this is like the rules of the game. This is the rules of your game. So you've got, these are the reciprocal identities. You know that. That's the rules of the game. This tangent squared equals sine squared, tangent equals sine over cosine, and cotangent equals cosine over sine. That's a rule. All right? Learned somebody else smarter than us came up with that. So they also, you saw how we got cosine squared plus sine squared with the Pythagorean theorem right there. So now say I've got something like tangent squared. I need to get to a tangent squared, okay? But I'm sitting there with, or I have tangent squared and I want to change that to something. So I need to replace that with something. So if I know I'm trying to get a tangent squared, I know that tangent is sine over cosine. So I'm like, okay, well, I need sine over cosine. The only way I can get it is through here. So I'm going to take everybody in the equation, and I'm going to divide by cosine. Uh-huh.
So I just logged into Delta Math.
Uh-huh.
It says no link credit available for the thing. I was trying to get them on tonight.
I'll fix it. Thank you for telling me.
Are you opening warm? You said no warm-ups.
No warm-ups. No warm-ups, but
Yeah, this is Delta Math. I still have late credit things to do.
yeah, that's fine. I'll open those up. Thanks for telling me.
So those can do them all today.
Okay. All right, so see, we got this right here. That's where we got that one. That's where we got it from. So if you come over here and you look at, I didn't put it in y'all's. I'll have to go back and put it in y'all's. I'm going to do a better recording of this, but I thought I'd record it so y'all can look right here. All right, so here's our identities. So look right here at the Pythagorean. I've got 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. Well, that's where I got it from. I took the original cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1, and I divided everybody by cosine. So instead, if you can't memorize this, memorize this. Exactly. Exactly. Which is why I'm spending so much time on it, because you got to understand the rules of the game. All right, so if I want cotangent, I'm going to divide everybody by sine squared. Oh, snap, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so then I'm going to change all that to what I know. Okay, cosine over sine, that's cotangent. That's 1. That's cosecant. Well, look at here. That's where we got right here. Cotangent plus 1 equals cosecant. There we go. So that's where they all came from. Ta-da. Okay.